Join us as we visit Lyles Station and the Underground Railroad sites in Gibson County, Indiana. Our first stop is the grave site, Charles Grear. Charles Grear was a freed black man that moved into the Northwest Territory in 1813. Following the War of 1812, he bought 40 acres of land close to the Antioch Cemetery, where he is resting now. Geza Greer was born in the year 1800. She spent her early years enslaved in South Carolina. When she was a teenager, her enslavers forced her to move with them to the Northwest Territory. Slavery was technically illegal in the Northwest Territory, but no one enforced this law. Charles and Geza was married in the year 1818 with no record of how she became a free woman. Over the time that they were married, they helped move more than 600 runaway slaves through their farm. This was a great risk to them because if they were found out, they could have been killed or taken and sold back into slavery. Indiana became a state in 1861, 2 years before the Greers were married. Indiana was an anti-slave state, but this did not make life any easier for the Greers. Indiana would install laws that were more racial, and in 1851 put a law in place that no more blacks could buy ground in Indiana. This was to keep blacks out of Indiana. If a free black person owned land before 1851, they had to show proof to a group of white people that would sign that they were free and lived there before 1851. Even with all these hardships, the Greers grew their farm to over 300 acres south of Owensville, Indiana. Next, we will head to the grave site of Mary and David Stormont in Archer Cemetery in Princeton, Indiana. We will look at how they were linked to the Greers and the Underground Railroad in Gibson County. We have a letter from Seth Cochran detailing his route from the south as he helped move runaway slaves north. And he said, "After I arrive at the mouth of the Tennessee River, I will go up the Ohio 75 miles to the mouth of the Wabash, then up the Wabash for 44 miles to New Harmony, where I shall go ashore by night and go 13 miles east to Charles Grear, a farmer, colored man, who will entertain us. And the next night, convey us 16 miles to David Stormonts near Princeton, who will take command, and I will be released." It is unclear how the Greers and the Stormonts learned of each other in their farther stations in moving runaway slaves. The Stormonts would house the runaway slaves in a log cabin on their farm. During this time, more free black Americans would move into Gibson County area. By 1830s, there was a small group that would form a settlement that would become Lyles Station, which helped in covering and moving runaway slaves from the Greers to the Stormonts. Our last place to visit is Lyles School and State and Museum, which is about 4 miles west of Princeton, Indiana. In 1886, the station was renamed in honor of Joshua Lyles, who was one of the earliest black men to move an area as a free man from Tennessee. He donated 6 acres of ground to the old airline railroad to establish a rail station. In its peak of Lyles Station, it was around 800 residents until the flood of 1913. At that time, it had 55 homes, a post office, a rail station, an elementary school, 2 churches, and a general store and a lumber mill. In the background, we can see the last remaining church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. You can also see a few of the homes that were still in the area as well as the school. As we walk up the pathway to the school, we see a few markers about the settlement and one of the important peoples of the settlement. The school was last used in the 1950s and had fallen into much disrepair. In 2022, there was a groundbreaking to restore the school, and by June of 2003, the school was open to the public to visit. Lyles Station School and Museum now offers many different events, like a corn maze and a fall festival, a night at the museum, and a day in the life from the farm to the dinner table. They also have one day a week that offers students a day of schooling in the classroom where the students can see what was like to be in the school in the early 1800s. When you first enter the school and go down the stairs to the lower level, this is where they have the display of the past teachers and things that could be used around the house. Once in the upper part of the school, we went into the Heritage Room, which shows you some of the people from the settlement. One is Hester Grear, born in 1880. She was raised a Methodist, and in 1913 became an ordained minister. She had a church that she helped get started in Princeton, then Patoka, Fort Wayne, and then Indianapolis. Then in 1930, she started her mission work in Jamaica, then Cuba, and the Isles of Pine, until 1950, where she come back to Indianapolis and built another church and stayed there until her death at 102. Lyles Station had many people that served in the different wars. This here is Aaron Richard Fisher, whose marker was one that we walked by on the pathway to the school. Aaron served in the Army during World War I, and in 1918 defended his command from the Germans, where he got the Distinguished Service Cross. He served with the Army until he retired in 1965. Dr. Virgil A. Clift was born in Lyles Station in 1912. He went to Lyles School and graduated from Lincoln High School in Princeton. In 1944, he got his PhD in teacher education and higher education from the Ohio State University. He was a teacher at many universities in the USA. He served as a teacher in Pakistan. In the year 1956 and 1958, he was the education advisor to the U.S. State Department Agency for International Development of Libya. In 1981, he helped co-edit the Encyclopedia of Black America. After he retired in 1975, Clift returned to Lyles Station, to the family farm, and to raise beef cattle. Alonzo Fields was born in Lyles Station in 1900. His father was a proprietor of one of the general stores and also organized and directed a Negro brass band in Lyles Station. Alonzo had dreamed of a career in music. After his family moved in Indianapolis at the age of 11 in 1925, with the sponsorship of his employer, Dr. Samuel Stratton, Alonzo enrolled in Boston, New England Conservatory of Music. This was short-lived because of the death of Dr. Stratton. Alonzo needed to find employment to support his wife and daughter. Through contacts of Dr. Stratton, he became in contact with Mrs. Herbert Hubert, which offered him a job as a butler, a chief butler, a maitre d' of the White House from 1931 to 1953. He worked behind the scenes in the planning state of social functions for the President Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, and Eisenhower. Alonzo Fields' memoir, My 21 Years in the White House, recounted his many experiences with the presidents, world leaders, royalty, and celebrities during his tenure in Washington, D.C., published in 1960. This is an Edison cylinder phonograph that also has a large collection of cylinders, and they showed us that it actually worked, and they recorded a small sample of the music that was played back then.
Nice music. So we had a recording made of.
As we go down the hall to the next room, we spot a poster of Glenn Morris, who is a farmer still today, that was featured in a magazine. As we go in the next room, we see a layout of the settlements around Lyles Station. These were all black communities that interacted around Lyles Station. On this wall here, they have a display of the different tools that was used while farming, as the community around was mainly farmers. Here we can see a spinning wheel and a weave loom used to make different materials. This here shows a timeline of Lyles Station and its developing stages. At the top, you can see a picture that shows a whole bunch of people. On the left was the owner of the farm, and all the others are the hard hands and the livestock that is needed to run the farm. Lastly, we head over to where the classroom is set up. This will give you an idea of what the classrooms looked like back when the school was operating. During the school year, they have homeschooling events where once a week, kids can come and spend one day learning and participating in classroom, actually using the chalkboards at the desk to write out their assignments and to learn more about school life then. As we look at the past teachers and graduating classes from Lyles School, we would like to thank Lyles Station for their time to take us on a tour and show us around. We'd also will leave links and information in the description so that you can learn more about Lyles Station and the Underground Railroad. We'd like to thank you for staying with us. Subscribe to the channel, and thank you once more.